Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So at the end of May 2024, I visited Nassau in the Bahamas via a cruise. I was on the MSC Magnifica and we made 2 stops on our 4-night cruise. The second stop we made was Nassau in the Bahamas. We had 9 hours in Nassau, but I was off the boat for less than half the time because we were dealing with very high heat and humidity. I really enjoyed my time in Nassau, and as I was doing my research prior to this cruise, I found that a lot of people warned me against booking a cruise that goes to Nassau. I think Nassau is amazing from a historical and adventure perspective. Keep watching because I created a custom historical walking tour of Nassau, all within a mile of the cruise port, and I'll share it with you at the end of this video. For now, let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about some facts about Nassau before we dive into my experience. So Nassau is a city on Providence Island in the country of the Bahamas. Miami is approximately 184 miles by boat from Nassau. The city of Nassau was originally founded as Charlestown in 1670, but native Caribbeans have lived on Nassau for thousands of years prior to that time. Alright, let's talk about my experience. The first thing I saw when I got off the ship was this beautiful celebrity cruise ship. I had to take a selfie on the dock because I was really enamored with this view. This was my first ever cruise, and my first stop on the cruise was Freeport, which was not as exciting. The docking process was really underwhelming, and our only neighbor was the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise, which is not a very exciting ship to be nearby. So having all of these cool ships next to us, there was the Carnival Dream on the other side of us, was really cool to see. Now on the other side of me in this image is Atlantis. This was my first time seeing Atlantis with my own 2 eyes, although I'd seen Atlantis in pictures, videos, commercials, Instagram, etc. many times before. It really is breathtaking in person, and there's really no way to describe it. I can understand why so many people come here for a vacation or do excursions to Atlantis. There was so much commotion just on the dock. I was really taken aback, especially because I was just at Freeport and there was very little commotion. You can see the MSC ship there. And I loved seeing those little people movers, and I know that those were really for people who needed them, but it was such a hot day out, and I really wished I could have used them. So it took me a good 7 to 10 minutes just to get out of the dock of Nassau. And that was pretty shocking to me. It just felt like it kept going on forever and ever and ever. I also have this great photo of me in front of the Magnifica. I had to take a selfie with my specific ship, and this was me as I was making my way out of the dock. And it just, I guess pier is a better way to say it than the dock. One thing I wish I did when I got out of the secured area where the pier is I wish I had gone directly to the left where the government building is and gotten my passport stamped with a Bahama stamp. I did not do that, and I really regret that because I think passport stamps are really cool and a great way to memorialize your trip. So I started going into the town of Nassau. My first stop was going to be Queen Victoria's Steps, or I think it's officially called Queen Victoria's Staircase, but it's kind of interchangeably used. So as I was making my way there, I stumbled across the new US Embassy, and this was a bit strange just to see on my walk, and it looked very beautiful and professional, and you can see it was still in process being done. Maybe there's not much construction view in this image, but it was very much still underway during my visit. It was clearly beautiful, and I actually heard a story from a local that a group of Chinese nationals secretly bought the famous British Colonial Hotel on Nassau, which is directly across the street from the old US Embassy. And they did that cloaked through a business that was based in the United Kingdom, and no one told the former business owners, that it was Chinese nationals buying this business. And so apparently the rumor is these Chinese nationals are connected to the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese Communist Party conducts spy operations out of the Colonial British Hotel and spies on the old US Embassy. So that's why the United States government has to build a new US Embassy, and they're really going all out. So that was a pretty wild story that I heard, and I Googled it after I heard the story, and it was from about 10 years ago, but it turns out to be true. So that was pretty wild to hear. After what felt like forever, but was really only 12 minutes in the scorching heat, I finally made it to Queen Victoria's Steps. and I really couldn't believe what I saw. The photos I'd seen online did show how beautiful it would be, but nothing could prepare me for how beautiful it was going to be in person. Awe-inspiring, breathtaking, stunning. It felt like I was in a jungle movie. It was just incredible. It was like an old Mayan ruin. It was interesting going to the Queen's Staircase placard where there's some history and you can learn about the limestone that the steps were carved out of and how some of the steps have degraded over time and how they've gone from, I believe, 66 to 64. It's very, very fascinating. Queen Victoria's Steps is right next to Fort Fincastle. So if you go up the steps, turn directly to the right, you will be in Fort Fincastle. So it's really great. You can kill two birds with one stone. So the first thing I saw when I got to Fort Fincastle was this great view of the ship I was on and our sister ships. It was very cool to see. And it really made me realize that even from this beautiful landmark, you could see the ships and they were dwarfing the island. And then I realized everyone I ran into this entire time was either from the ship as tourists, or they were people, locals, who were selling to the tourists or supporting the tourists to spend money on this island in some way. And it really made me realize how important these ships are to this island, and they probably keep the island completely economically afloat. It really was eye-opening in a lot of ways. There was a lot of interesting information at the fort, and I eventually paid $3 to go into the fort and $2 for a bottle of water because I was just about dead at this time from the heat and humidity. I saw a great view of Atlantis from Fort Fincastle. It was very, very cool. More history, which I found interesting, but I didn't really come here just to read these old plaques. I came more for the historical things that were still standing. So I have to say I did skip reading some of these things. There were lots of cannons, so of course I had to strike my dad pose with one of the cannons. And then I got an even clearer shot on my Galaxy S23 of some of the boats that are docked, and you can see the celebrity ship where that is. My MSC Magnifica is right behind that. Now this, I first thought when I saw this big tower is kind of the centerpiece of Fort Fincastle. You would think that this is a kind of protection army tower, but it's actually just a water tower, interestingly enough. And I believe it's still in use for the people of Nassau. Then I got this pretty cool 360 shot of everything you can see up at the top of Fort Fincastle, and it's pretty breathtaking, and it really makes you realize how diverse and ecologically beautiful that Nassau really is. And if you can't tell, I'm pretty sold on Nassau as an island so far. There's an abandoned lighthouse at the end of where Atlantis is, and so my trusty S23 zoomed in I think 100 times to get this shot, and it just really struck me as beautiful. I know that Royal Caribbean is building their new private Nassau getaway in this area, so I believe that this lighthouse will be torn down unless there are plans to preserve this, which I can't say one way or another. I don't have that information. But this lighthouse is really beautiful, and I truly hope that Royal Caribbean Corporation does not plan to tear this lighthouse down. There was a lot more history involved and a lot more interactive history, so if you are a fan of interactive history, Fort Fincastle would be a place for you. Now I started the long, hot walk back to the center of town, and so let's just say this did not go as fast as I hoped it would. I then stopped into the Bahamian Historical Society. I met the owner and talked with him for a long time, and he's a very nice, passionate man, and will give you a free tour of the Historical Society if you'd like. And it's only $5 admission. Now, I had a much longer map with much more things to do. I believe the 3 things I did were only about 15% of the things I had mapped out to do. But at this point, I was so hot, I was profusely sweating, and I was just exhausted. I had only been off the ship for 2.5 hours now, but I just wanted nothing more than just to go back, eat lunch, and flop in bed. And that's exactly what I did. We got to see the celebrity reflection. It was pretty cool. It's always fun to get to wave goodbye to our neighbors in port and know that they're going to have their own fun on their own cruise. Got a great video of the Nassau port pilot leaving our ship once we were departing from Nassau in the evening. So I will insert this here, as this, I think, is very cool. we can talk about the map that I was telling you guys about. Where my mouse is circling is the passport stamp area, just in case you want to get your passport stamped, if that's important to you like it is to me. So if you follow my mouse, this is where you would go to walk down to get to Queen's Staircase. So you go down the street, which is having a little bit of trouble reading. I believe it's called Eliza Street. And then once you get to Shirley, that's the street you really need to remember. Go left once you hit Shirley, and then hang a right once you hit Elizabeth Street. And then it's a straight shot down. Like, it is the easiest walk ever. There is currently a government warning from the United States not to go lower than Shirley Street. It's like a crock of manure, in my opinion. I think, don't do this at night. Keep your wits about you. If anything looks suspect, do not go, turn around. I am a woman who went alone. I went at 10 a.m. and I had no problems. So just, if you don't have any street sense, if your friends tell you, you're not very smart in these situations, maybe it's not right for you to do this, but I think it's going to be totally fine. But don't sue me if anything happens to you. So then Fort Fincastle is literally right here, right next to Queen Victoria's Staircase. And so all you do is walk up Queen Victoria's steps and then hang a right and you're in Fort Fincastle. And so then if you want to go to the Bahamian Historical Society, all you do is walk back on Elizabeth Street towards Shirley Street, and then it's right at the corner of Elizabeth and Shirley. And then if you want to go back to the ship, just follow the way we came. But I'm going to talk about some of the other things that I did not talk about in my review because I didn't do these because I was too tired and fat. Straw market, you can easily do this on your way to or from the ship, so I won't talk about this. Christchurch Cathedral is on the other side of the city where the cruise port is. I've heard that's interesting if you're into religious history. Balcony House is I don't think this is paid. No, it's not paid. Anything paid will have a $sign next to it. Balcony House is a maintained historical house by one of the local historical societies in Nassau. So you could do Christchurch Cathedral and Balcony House and Government House, which is a local, I believe it's the governor's mansion. And so you could do these three really easily without having to go too far and not be too far away from the ship. There's also the National Arts Gallery, and you could do that on the way to John Watling Rum Distillery. Now, John Watling Rum Distillery is free, and you can do a free rum tasting, so that would be really amazing. But John Watling is really famous, and the free rum tasting, I mean, you can't beat that. There's also going to be a link to this map in the description of this video, so you can download and print this out for your trip to Nassau, and I hope it'll help you. I know it helped me a lot. All right, so overall, I think you guys can probably tell, but I would definitely go to Nassau again. I have a lot more to do on my map that I did not cross out yet. I loved Nassau. I thought it was so much fun. I think the history was amazing. It was lively, it was entertaining. There was so much culture there. There were so many Americans living there. There were so many Canadians living there. There were so many Caribbeans living there. It was just a melting pot of history, of love, of culture. It was so fascinating. I would highly recommend it. I have to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars for that. And I would recommend to anyone to choose an itinerary with Nassau in it. Don't not choose an itinerary just because it has Nassau in it. I mean, if you think, oh, this itinerary has Tortola, it has San Juan, it has Aruba, oh, but it has Nassau. Don't do that. I think you will definitely find value in Nassau and getting off the ship at Nassau. Don't knock it off the ship, especially if you haven't ever been to Nassau. Well, I hope this video was really helpful to anyone who may come across it, and like always, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you found this video helpful. All right, till next time. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.